Our first guest is an actor, stand-up comedian and best-selling author. His autobiography, The Happiest Refugee, won the 2011 Australian Book of the Year. Would you please welcome the delightful You Anh Do. You love a bloke who comes out clapping. And we've got some incredible pictures here that will chart, I suppose, in a way, the early years of your life. And we begin your story in Vietnam, as your book does. But what I wanted to ask, what are your memories of Vietnam? I mean, you were 2.5?
Yep. You know, I didn't think I remembered anything, but a couple of years ago, I went back to Vietnam for the first time.
Yeah.
My brother showed me a boat, just like the one that we came to Australia on. And there was just something about it. And we both went, it's probably like that one, isn't it? And the uncle went, it's exactly like that one.
Although the one that you came out in had a dodgy ending, but we will get to that in a moment. Let's go to this first shot. Now, just to run us through this, Mum and Dad.
Mum and Dad, they got married outside the church and all the kids wanted to be in on the photo and this guy just got his foot in. Check that out. Did you see my foot?
What sort of a wedding was it? It was outdoors?
My father's got 9 brothers and sisters. There's 10 kids. Mum's got one of 8. So very poor, you know. But, you know, the family saves up, pitches in. My mum still says it's the happiest day of her life, so...
And, of course, this is around about 75, 76,
yep,
I would think.
That. Yeah, my family left Vietnam because we'd fought alongside Aussie soldiers in the Vietnam War. In fact, one of my uncles was a sapper who helped clear landmines for Anzacs. That's what a sapper does. And a few years ago, I was watching TV, and me and him were watching, and there's this sapper on TV in Iraq, right? And I said to my uncle, he doesn't look all that nervous for a guy who's looking for landmines. And then my uncle says, that's because in front of him is a cameraman walking backwards. You got a good point, Uncle. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. After the war finished, my mum's 2 older brothers, because they had fought alongside Aussies, they were put into concentration camps. And my family thought they were going to be there for 2 weeks, but they'd been there for 3 years. And other prisoners around them were dying of starvation, of disease, and some were being executed. So my father, who was a 25-year-old Vietnamese kid at the time, he goes and he steals a high-level communist soldier's uniform and paperwork. He walks right through the front door of the jail and he says, I need to take these 2 with me right now. And they let my uncles go. My father pulled off a fantastic rescue with another guy's ID, Brian. It goes to prove even Asians think all Asians look the same. Of course, back then there was no photos. Yeah.
And so how long later did you make your escape?
They went into hiding for a while. My family had to get a boat, and then eventually 40 Vietnamese, neighbours, cousins, anyone who needed to leave Vietnam, 40 Vietnamese got on a 9.5-metre fishing boat, crammed in like sardines. As we leave Vietnam, communist soldiers spot us in the distance, they chase us and they shoot at us. We're far enough away that we get away. And once we go beyond the border patrol zone, they stop chasing us, but we blow one of the engines. And so for the next 4 days, the boat travels at about 30% the speed it should be. And on day 4, we've run out of food and water, and 1 person has passed away. And then on the morning of day 5, Mum wakes up and she sees a boat in the distance. And we wait for this boat to come over. And it turns and it starts heading towards us. But as the boat gets closer, we realise it's not going to save us. It's a boatload of Thai pirates. 7 men with knives, machetes and guns. They jump on our boat and they take everything. They even take the engine. And they nick off and we're just left floating.
No engine?
No engine. And then a few hours later, we spot another boat. This time we're not so excited.
No. Is there
My mum says it's that moment. They might be good, they might not be. It gets closer and it's 9 men with knives, machetes and guns. 9 pirates. They come onto our boat and my father says, we have nothing left. But one of the pirates picks up a little baby and he lifts up this baby and he rips open the baby's nappy and 150 Australian worth of gold falls out. Because when you leave your country, you sell everything you have. You buy gold, the international currency, Brian. A tiny slice of gold drops out and he starts screaming out all this stuff in a foreign language and dangles the baby over the side of the boat. He threatens to throw the kid in. My father screams out, we have to save the child. It's now a standoff. 9 pirates, 38 starving refugees, kid over the side of the boat. In that moment, for whatever reason, the pirate decides to spare the kid's life. He throws him back in and he lets the kid live, and that's a good thing because that kid is my little brother, You Anh Do, who grew up to become the 2005 Young Australian of the Year for his charity work. My little brother.
Hold that thought, because you've just had the second attack, so I want you to go back to that story, but I do want to just let people see this shot. This is just before you left.
Yeah, it's a few months before we left. There's my little brother.
There he is.
So he's quite a tubby little fella. So he's a strong pirate who went like that.
Back to the boat. So you've had 2 attacks. This is all in a space of, what, 5 days?
Yeah, that's right. 2 pirate attacks.
2 pirate attacks.
The first bunch of pirates took the engine that was working. So my father, who all the family call a Vietnamese MacGyver, he carves a rubber ring out of one of my uncle's thongs. And he dives underneath and loops that around and manages to fix the broken engine. So it's not running completely,
no,
but it's kind of running. The second pirates thought, we'll take that as well. So then we've got nothing now. We're sort of just drifting. Until the next morning, a great big German merchant ship rocked up and rescued us. 2 German guys jump on the boat and they smash up the boat because they can't actually rescue us unless we're sinking.
And it sinks.
And my mum and dad to this day are very grateful. They love Germans. Really, my mum goes for Germany in the Olympics, you know, run faster! Run faster, Wolfgang, woo! That's actually not even a joke. She loves them.
All right, we're here. We're in Sydney.
Yeah, we're at a migrant hostel, and that's my mum's brothers. And what happened was some nuns from St. Vinny's come and give my family a big bag of clothes, and it got lost in the translation. So half the kids' clothes were for a little boy, and half were for a little girl. And my mum's just been through war, poverty, starvation, and she thinks if she gives the girls' clothes back, the nun's going to think she's impolite. So for the first year or so in Australia, my brother... my little brother wears dresses. And not only that, but my uncle's going, no, that looks wrong. That looks like a little boy in a girl's dress. And my mum said, that's right, I'll fix that. She grew his hair longer.
Anne, I wanted to ask about this photo. Now, Kwa has solved his gender issue. Oh.
La Perouse in Sydney.
Yep.
You know, my parents arrived in Australia and they just said, kids, what about this great country, you know? And growing up, they taught us, do as much as you can to give back to this great country that gave us a second chance. And I'm yet to do that, but my brother is very good.
Beautiful. All right. Birthday shot?
Birthday shot. We're sending this photo back to Vietnam, so before we take the shot, the family was like, get all the cans of Fanta in and show everyone in Vietnam how wealthy we are. Look at that, there's 6 of them.
Oh, I tell you, your mum, hero shot for me. I love this one.
Yeah. In Marrickville?
Yep.
You know, Mum and Dad said, wow, man, look at this beautiful house. And my mum went, I'm going to be like a model. And I show off to everyone our beautiful house. And, you know, and she looks gorgeous in that.
Doesn't she?
Yeah.
Favourite TV shows? Can you remember what was big on the box?
Yeah, WrestleMania 4. All I wanted to be was Hulk Hogan growing up.
All right, last one was Mum. This one's Dad.
Yeah, so that's my dad on the right. You know, he's a funny guy, life of the party sort of guy, you know, he was never a real MC for a job, but whenever anyone had when anyone got married or there was an event, yeah, they'd say, hey, Tam, you MC, man, you get on the mic. And it probably influenced, you know,
yeah,
me. My father, he lost 3 brothers and his own dad in the aftermath of the war. So he used to drink a lot. And when I was 13, he left. He left the family, he was drinking too much. And so Mum raised 3 kids on her own. And I didn't see my father between the ages of 13 and 22. When I was a kid, Brian, Dad used to say, Aunt, if you find the right woman, marry her, man. Look how happy me and Mum are. And he loved my mum very much. A little thing called, you know, the Vietnam War and alcoholism got in the way, you know. I was 22 and I was engaged. And I wanted to find my dad to say, look, I found the right woman, I'm going to get married. And I make all these phone calls and I discover he's living in Melbourne. So I jump in my car and I drive all night. It's the longest 12 hours of my life. I'm just, why did he leave? How come I've not heard from him? Like, maybe he's forgotten about me. Will he even recognise me? I used to be this tall, now I'm this tall. And then I knock on this door and this door opens and there's this woman standing there and she looks about 25. And I think, okay, so he might have like a new partner who's just a bit older than me. And then there's this baby crying, this 1-year-old, and he looks a little bit like me. And I think, okay, I might have a half-brother. And then my father appears from the back and he's loud and he's funny and he says, sit down and look at this meal I've prepared. And we have like brunch because I've driven all night. And my father's the same. But every now and then he just paused for a little bit too long and he stared vacantly. And I discovered that he has a tumour in his brain. And I thought to myself, I didn't want to buy back into a sick dad. I just wanted to go, look, like I'm engaged and this is all too much to deal with, you know. And I thought, look, I'm just going to visit this once and I'm never going to come back. I'm going to pretend this never happened. But just before I left, I said, Dad, so the kid, you call him Fatty because that's his nickname. What's his real name? My dad said his name is An. I named him after you. So for many years, I thought my father had forgotten about me. And I realised when he said that, you know, maybe he'd been thinking about me also.
Yeah.
It took, he said, An, look, man, I don't deserve this, but if I can have one last thing, I want to see your brother and your sister so I can tell them I love them. And they go see Dad, and it makes him so happy. And my little sister says to him, Dad, you left when I was 9 and I'm 18. And you owe me some years and you got to hang around. And my dad said, I promise you, I will get better. So he sought treatment and the tumour in the following years completely disappeared. That was 12 years ago. Still alive today. He'll live till he's 100.
Whoa. Beautiful. Well, speaking of the sister, I do think that, oh, look, gee, Tram, tell us about this shot.
That's my beautiful little sister. She had, all through her childhood, she had, her teeth were crowded on one side and she hardly ever smiled. This is one of the few photos where she's smiling. And one of the greatest things that I've ever done in my life was when I just started out doing comedy, Brian. There was a competition in Canberra called Green Faces, right? And all comedians from all the states fly to Canberra and compete for 5K, prize money. Oh, wow. Prize money and extra gigs, it's worth 5K, right? And I was a young comic, and I won the Sydney heat, and I won all these semi-finals, and I got to the grand final. 11 o'clock, they announced the winner, You Anh Do. I straight away went off stage, looked for a phone, and I called my mum, and she'd been waiting up with my sister to wait for the news.
Yeah.
I said, Mum, I won. We're going to fix Tram's teeth. And, you know, my mum has so much faith in me.
Yeah.
You know, I can't believe she waited up. What if I didn't win?
Does she watch your comedy, your mum?
Yeah, my mum, you know, doesn't understand a lot of my comedy. She goes, why are they laughing?
What's funny?
And, you know, she just goes, Arn's always like that at home. So, but my sister, she got her teeth fixed.
Well, I think it's an appropriate way to finish. Look at that.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Beautiful. When was that taken?
That was on her wedding day.
Look at you. You look very happy.
Yeah.
She looks very happy. It's been an absolute privilege having you on this show. Ladies and gentlemen.